evening, here's Top News English newsletter starting with headlines. Syrian army units eliminate terrorists in several areas around the country. Qahwaji presses France for military support. Israeli troops withdraw as truce goes into effect in Gaza Strip. And Iraq Air Force backs Kurds against ISIS terrorists. Welcome to details. Syrian army units tightened grip on terrorist groups on Tuesday, targeting their gatherings and dens in several areas around the country. Army troops foiled two terrorist attempts of infiltration from Khan al-Sheikh towards Al-Khammara and the medicine factory to the left of As-Salam highway in Damascus countryside. Army units destroyed a number of terrorists' vehicles between Rasm al-Shawali, Al-Ajraf, Al-Samadaniya and Qunaytira countryside, killing many and injuring others in al-Batina village. In Dar'a, army units targeted terrorists' gatherings in Atman, Barqa, Al-Malzuma, Inkhil and Nawa, killing and injuring many, a military source at the province said. The source added that another army unit thwarted a terrorist group's infiltration attempt towards a military post. In Idlib, army soldiers inflicted heavy losses upon terrorists in the surrounding area of Qaminas town and dismantled 5 mines and 8 explosives in a farm in the town. An army unit targeted armed terrorist groups' hideouts in the area surrounding Mentef village in Idlib countryside. Army troops targeted terrorists' gatherings near Aqrab village in Al-Hula countryside, Al-Shajara farm in Palmyra, Deir Fool and Talbisa to the north of Al-Qaritain and Palmyra in Homs countryside. The army units also destroyed terrorists' cars with all the terrorists inside them in Al-Ghanto in the countryside. A military source said that army units killed and wounded a number of terrorists in Aleppo and its countryside and destroyed a number of their vehicles equipped with heavy machine guns. The army unit also targeted terrorists' gatherings in Al-Rashidin area, eliminating a number of terrorists. Syria has pledged support for the Lebanese army in its fight against terrorism as the military pushed ahead with its campaign against Al-Qaeda-linked militants entrenched in the Beqa' Valley border town of Arsal. Syria affirms that it stands with the Lebanese army and stands in solidarity with them in dealing with terrorist groups and eliminating them, said a source at the Syrian Foreign Ministry. The Lebanese army Monday said it has regained control of barracks and a strategic hill overlooking the northeastern town of Arsal in a third day of ferocious fighting that threatened to further drag Lebanon into the fire next door. What is happening in Arsal and its surroundings in terms of terrorist crimes against civilians and Lebanese army checkpoints and posts necessitates support for the Lebanese army and standing united with them in their battle against extremist Takfiri terrorism, said the Foreign Ministry official. In the worst Syria-linked violence in Lebanon, the Lebanese army said the clashes with Takfiri terrorist groups killed 14 soldiers and wounded 86 others, while 22 were still missing, believed to be held captive by the militants. A delegation from the Committee of Muslim Scholars came under fire late Monday as it attempted to arrange a ceasefire. Lebanese Army Commander General Jean Qahwaji urged France Tuesday to speed up the delivery of weapons under a $3 billion Saudi-sponsored deal, stressing their importance in ending the dangerous clashes with militants in Arsal. This battle requires equipment, material and technology that the army doesn't have, Qahwaji said. That's why we need to speed up the delivery of the necessary military aid by finalizing the list of weapons requested from France under a Saudi-financed deal backed by the Rome Conference to support the army. Qahwaji warned that the situation in Arsal was hazardous, pledging to continue the fight against militants to free the 22 missing soldiers. The battle that the army is undertaking in the mountains of Arsal is just one in a series of confrontations against terrorism in all its forms and whatever it is, he added. The army's fight against the Takfiri is continuing and the army is determined to recover the missing soldiers, he said. In Gaza, the Israeli army has completed the withdrawal of all troops from Gaza as a 72-hour truce went into effect following intense global pressure to end the bloody onslaught on the besieged coastal region. The move came moments before the latest truce brokered by Egyptian mediators late on Monday came into force at 8 a.m. local time on Tuesday. Gaza officials say that the 4-week conflict has killed nearly 1,900 Palestinians. Some 67 Israelis have also died so far. The Israeli forces will be redeployed in defensive positions outside the Gaza Strip, and we will maintain those defensive positions, Israeli military spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Peter Lerner said. Shortly before the ceasefire came into effect, Israeli warplanes staged at least 5 airstrikes in Gaza, prompting a barrage of retaliatory rocket fires from the Palestinian resistance groups. The skies fell silent. In Iraq, Iraq's Air Force and Kurdish fighters from Syria have joined forces with Iraqi embattled Peshmerga to push back ISIS terrorists whose latest attacks sent thousands of civilians running for their lives. On Sunday, the ISIS fighters inflicted a humiliating defeat on the Kurds with a rapid advance through 3 towns, acquiring a 5th oil field to fund its operation along the way. But the Peshmerga declared they were mounting a counter-offensive Monday, and Maliki ordered the Air Force to provide them support. The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces has issued orders to leadership of the Air Force and the Army's aviation units to provide air support to Peshmerga forces, Army spokesman Qasim Atta said in a statement. The Peshmerga's fellow Kurds in Syria have also sent their own fighters across the border to help in an unprecedented move. The Democratic Union Party is fighting in the Sinjar area and Rabia, a senior army official said, stressing that it was not coordinated with the Iraqi government. The Syria-based group posted pictures of what it said were its forces operating inside Iraq and said that Democratic Union Party fighters have been battling ISIS militants north of Sinjar, one of the towns that fell to ISIS a day earlier. In Egypt will build a new 72-kilometer canal alongside the Suez Canal, the chairman of the Suez Canal Authority said on Tuesday. This giant project will be the creation of a new Suez Canal parallel to the current channel of a total length of 72 kilometers, Muhab Mamish told a conference in Ismailia, a port town on the Suez Canal, broadcast by state television. In Turkey, Turkish authorities on Tuesday arrested dozens of police officers accused of illegally wiretapping top officials, including Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan, local media reported. In the latest apparent crackdown on the opponents of the premier before he runs in presidential polls, at least 33 police officers were detained in 14 provinces across the country. The operation started with an early morning raid on a housing complex for police officers and their families in Istanbul, but raids were also carried out in cities in the Kurdish majority southeast. It is part of a sweep against the movement of Erdogan's former ally Fethullah Gulen in the wake of a vast corruption scandal that broke late last year, implicating the Prime Minister and his inner circle. Russia may impose restrictions or a ban on European airlines using trans-Siberian routes, raising the cost of their flights to Asia in response to European Union sanctions over Ukraine. Moreover, possible restrictions on flights over Russia territory are being discussed by the foreign and transport ministries. The restrictions would lead to longer flights, higher fuel use, and other additional costs for European airlines, putting them at a competitive disadvantage versus Asian rivals. And finally, in Afghanistan, an Afghan official says that a NATO helicopter strike has killed 4 civilians in the country's west. Officials with the International Military Coalition say that they are investigating the attack. The attack saw almost 200 people protest against NATO in Herat province Tuesday. Raouf Ahmadi, a spokesman for the chief of police in Herat province, says that the attack happened on Monday in the province's Shindan district after Taliban fighters apparently launched a missile. Ahmadi says that the NATO helicopter responded with fire that killed 4 civilians. In a statement, NATO said it was aware of the attack and was investigating without elaborating. Casualties from NATO strikes remain a continuous issue in Afghanistan as international troops prepare to withdraw from the country at the end of this year. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dima Yunus. Good night.